Maageketla Mohlabe, who has been following the queue so far. Maageketla, I understand that you're now at Wits University. When I spoke to you about an hour ago, you were at the University of Johannesburg. So what's the situation where you are?
Good day, Nombu. Of course, we are live at the Wits University here, and of course, this university known as the epicenter of the 2015-2016 Christmas Fall protest. But of course, students are back. Of course, as you can see in the background, the students that you see there are first-year students, predominantly first-year students. But in the mix are returning students, of course, here to confirm their status in terms of their applications for placement at the university. But the person who knows more about the situation here is the Wits University Registrar, Carol Crossley. Thanks so much for your time, ma'am. Just tell us what exactly is going on here. And we thought what we saw at UJ in terms of long queues, that was it. But then we arrive here at Wits University, the same narrative.
Well, this queue has about 25 people in it, and it is predominantly our new first-year students who have applied to Wits. They applied by the closing date, and many of them are now coming to check up on the status of their application. We do have an online application status check-in where they can check on the self-service portal, but many of our applicants are a little anxious. Some of them have applied for 3 programs. They might have been accepted for 1 program, but they actually want the other program, and we allow our students to come in and meet with their admissions consultant to check the status of their application. Some of them are a little anxious about the fact that perhaps they haven't been accepted and what other alternatives there are for them beyond Wits. So it may be that Wits can't offer them a place. So we're encouraging applicants to perhaps go on to the CASH, Central Applications Clearinghouse website, and to log a call there as well. Some of them are inquiring about their NSFAS application status. So we are certainly allowing what we call a face-to-face contact with our applicants so that we can take away some of the anxiety levels for them.
And despite allowing that physical presence here, but I know that Wits is also among those universities that are saying that we're not going to accept walk-in late applications, isn't it?
That is correct, yes. As of 30th of September last year, when we closed our applications for our new first years, we had received about 70,000 applications. We've got place for 5,200 first year students, so we understand it's incredibly competitive. And yes, so unfortunately we are not allowing any late applications. We are obviously, if a student is inquiring, we're referring them once again to the Central Applications Clearinghouse.
I'm going to pose to you the same question I posed to you, Jay, early this morning, to say some students obviously can't access online or even internet at home, deep in the rural area or village of Eastern Cape or even Limpopo. They don't have that luxury of getting taxi fare to town, and of course, to get access to the internet. What is your message to them? How are you helping those students?
Okay, so certainly from an applicant point of view, remember we have a schools liaison team that goes to all our provinces. They actually deliver paper copies there. They prepare to accept a paper application from a student who perhaps doesn't have access to internet. So we allow a parallel process of online application and paper application, and the same goes for our students. For those who perhaps don't have access to the internet, we've obviously got a call center where they can phone in, they can send us an SMS to accept their offer as well. So we find almost all our students have got access to a cell phone. They might not have access to data, but we send them SMSs to say, you've been offered a place. If you want to accept your offer, please SMS us back. So we've allowed that. And next week, for those students who can't register online, we have got face-to-face registration for those particular students who are having difficulty with online registration.
And just one last thing, we know that student accommodation is a huge problem for students across the country. How are you sorting that out as soon as possible? Because we know, in fact, we've had had in the past students sleeping in computer labs because they can't find accommodation. How are you helping those students at this stage?
Okay, so obviously students will have applied for residence as well. This is an official residence application that they would have made. We know that we don't have enough places. There is lots of what we call private accommodation. So it's not so much the lack of private accommodation, but it's the affordability for many of our students. Okay, so obviously NSFAS has also come to the party in that they also fund students who are going into private accommodation to a particular ceiling, and then those students who are trying to get the private accommodation, we get out the list, we work with certain service providers, and we have shared the contact details, the phone numbers, and we encourage the students to go and find private accommodation. And then obviously the funding is separate. They make the arrangement with a particular funder or with a particular service provider, and that is an ongoing challenge for our students. But many of our students are finding that private accommodation sometimes is a little bit more reasonable than university residence accommodation.
And this process here, this queues, how long are we going to see them for? Is it the whole week process?
So obviously as the places fill up, there are less and less places available to students, and obviously our processes then also kick in to make sure that we inform students, unfortunately you haven't been accepted at this university, so we anticipate this queue probably for the next 3 or 4 days, but by Thursday, when we begin the online registration for our new first years, we do believe that this queue will reduce itself quite substantially.
Thanks so much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely a story across probably all universities in the country, Nompu. And of course, as you can see, students will definitely be coming through to line up and to make sure that they get their placement at the university, as we saw earlier on at the University of Johannesburg this morning. So this is quite similar story on the ground at the Wits University. We have seen that, and of course at UJ we've seen the same scenario. So at this stage, it's just back to you in studio.
Thanks very much for that, Maageketla. We're going to go for a quick break and have some market news for you thereafter.